Theme song.
There she is in all her glory, the HSS Solidia. And here we are about to embark on a away mission on the nearby, undiscovered, unexplored ship, the MAS Patatakakavol. Sort of a Russian ship, I'm guessing? All right, board it. I want to... We're still deep in the grinding territory. I want to keep going. I mean, look at how much resources we've built up, though. We have built up enough that I think it's about time that we start building our second ship. The only problem with that is we still only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people. So I don't know if that's enough people to justify running a second ship. I don't know if they'll be able to run the ship. But the reason I want to do it now and the reason I want to do it sooner rather than later is because of two things. Thing number one, I have been informed that the new update to the game in preparation for the early access release, we're also excited about that, but the new update to the game is actually going to make this save no longer playable. Something I kind of haven't thought about for a while. The fact that if you... I don't know, I think the more I think about it, the more sad I get. The fact that if you can't play the save anymore... Oh, yes! We found another person. Jalen. Jalen! You may board the... Okay, Jalen. Oh yeah, draft you. Get on board. All right, the rest of the fellas will go and... Oh, and Irrational. The fellas and Irrational will go through and clear the ship. All right, we got a new person. Let's actually undraft that shuttle so we can take her home. Oh, good work. So yeah, this is the thing I'm getting sad about. We've grown our crew now, which is great, so I think we even have more reason to make a new ship. But the fact that the... Here we go. Come on. The fact that the save game is going to be unplayable kind of forever is a bit of a bummer because, and maybe it's this weird thing that I get into, but I keep thinking of this crew and this ship as like kind of alive somehow. I don't know. That's so weird. Oh, shoot it. Shoot it with guns. Oh, you guys are just roasting aliens these days. And I realize that's weird, and that maybe that's because I'm the generation that grew up in like the early days of like Monsters Incorporated and like Toy Story and started thinking about inanimate objects that way. I don't know. I've talked about it before on this channel, that it's just this weird nerd thing I have in my heart, that I just like to think of these little things as always just kind of a little alive in their own simulation. Because like, here's the thing, guys, what if we're in a simulation? Huh? Never thought about that, did ya? If we're in a simulation, maybe 2020 is the developers of the game over at Earthbite are releasing a new update, so this save is getting corrupted and is no longer playable. But I mean, I don't know, this a thing I like to think about sometimes. All right, on draft. The fact that I won't be able to come back to these folks ever again, just kind of, it makes me a bit sad, I guess, which is weird because these are just silly video games. But I don't know, there's something about this one that just doesn't feel that silly. Oh, I'm such a child. All right. So we are going to... Okay, carrying to shut... What are you up to, Irrational? I'm going to draft you just because I'm worried that you're not going to actually, like... Yeah, just go get some oxygen or something. I'm just worried that Irrational didn't seem to be... Okay, good. And undraft. Now you can get to work, but you've got oxygen at least. Oh, yeah, that's right. And we have 2 shuttles going back and forth. That's awesome. And then we have a couple of trades that we set up once I first dropped into this system. A little bit of mining to do, and then we'll move on. And we have our new lady, Jalen. What can you do? She's meh pilot, decent miner, a really good manufacturer, and a really good nav person. Okay, so Jalen, eventually, I think once we build the second ship, you're going to actually stay on this ship because this is our whole manufacturing wing is down here. Major discomfort. Yeah, I mean, you were an abandoned ship for a long time in a stasis pod, so we understand, Jalen. Or should we call you... Oh my goodness, look! This is great. I have not seen this menu before. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, all right, that's it. We got to go through here and we got to change these outfits. We got to come up with some outfits for these guys here. All right, maximum characters. Okay. Who else watches it? Okay, Vampy. Let's just call you Vamps. You have now joined this ship. Now, this ship is a little doomed in that this is our final kind of playing of it. We're going to get outfits for all these people, though, of course. We're going to customize all their uniforms, so that's going to be great. The second reason, I know I said a while ago that there was two reasons. The second reason why I still want to just kind of wrap up this save game, build another ship, and then just leave this save file and be like, okay, I just like to think of them as happy and cruising around the universe in their two ships. And it would be nice to practice building a ship with the late game that I'm in now with all of the stuff I have. So let's build another ship. And that's also going to be a bit grindy as well. So the other reason I wanted to do that before rolling over to a new season, and yes, there will be a new season because I'm addicted to playing this game, what we're going to do is I've actually had the honor of interviewing again one of the key players in the Space Haven game. His name is Aksel. And he was one of the founding members of Bug Bite. So he and his brother have been working on this game for 4 or 5 years now. You're going to hear all about it in the interview. So I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy as we bandy about the stars. Is that right? Bandy about the stars? Collect some resources and build our second ship. This is probably going to take 2 episodes. This is going to be part 1, I think. And then that is going to serve as our sort of season finale, unfortunately, because I want to update the game and I want to start playing a new ship in time for the early access. So, like I said, enjoy watching the HSS Solidia and its new member Vamps live their lives, and also enjoy the interview with Aksel. So sit back, relax, and take a look at this giant water tower that I've not seen before. First of all, a big hello to my guest, Aksel.
Hi.
Hi. And a big thank you for this amazing game, Space Haven.
Yeah.
I hope you're stoked by the audience, I guess the players' reactions so far. It seems like kind of across the board, people are really stoked about this game. And it goes to early access soon.
Yeah, we managed to build a nice community around the game, and also from our previous games. So yeah, we're really happy that the game is interesting to our players and it's something they wanna play.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So then why don't let's rewind back to the start. Back to early Bug Bite. So this is almost 4 years ago, and I kind of want to start before the Kickstarter. So what I'm wondering is, why this game? Where did you guys come up with it? Was it just your idea? Was it a couple of people? How did the game get started?
Yeah, okay. So by the point we got to this game, we had already developed games for 4 years.
Yeah.
And this game was right after a game called Voyage Harbinger, which was our first PC game. Like it was also on PC. It was first for mobile, but then we managed to make it to PC as well. After we had kind of finished Harbinger, we just sat down and I asked the guys, what kind of game do you want to make now? And I think my brother had in mind Battlestar Galactica, and and building, because up to that point we had just made like spaceships firing at each other, like battles, but it was purely that. So he wanted to try something with like building and construction and stuff like that. It seemed interesting, and he also mentioned Battlestar Galactica, and at that point I kind of I had noticed RimWorld, and right then and there those two started to mix together, and
Yeah, that's
how
perfect.
it all started.
Well, and I think even in the RimWorld community, there's always lots of people that are like, "Oh, I wish we could do this in space," or "I wish that we could have a colony simulator, but we could take off and go somewhere else or something." So I think there's definitely a desire for exactly what you guys have designed. So
Yeah.
early would be Battlestar Galactica, and as far as your inspirations, was that? I guess that was like big at the time. I can't even remember. Was that 4 years ago, or even further back? I mean, you can go
I
back.
can't either, but it was back then.
Yeah.
And yeah, about RimWorld, like Space Haven is kind of a continuation to RimWorld, because in RimWorld it ends by you building a spaceship
Yeah, that's right.
and flying away. Yeah, many players are like, well, I want to continue in space, and so Space Haven fits there. And actually, RimWorld was at one point on a spaceship.
Oh, was it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the developer Tainan, I think it was first, can't remember, was it a school simulator or something like that,
Okay.
and then it went on a spaceship, and then he noticed there were so many problems when it was in space and on spaceship, so he was like, I'll just put it on a planet. So yeah, we were left with all those problems because we chose to put it on a spaceship.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, Axel, so you guys look at this as an option, as an idea, as a niche. Like, oh, okay, so there's RimWorld. We want to see RimWorld in space. We really like Battlestar, and we've taken the lessons that we have from Battle Void.
Yeah.
So all of this starts to get put together, and I assume this was a ways before you did the Kickstarter, right? Because it looks like when you guys started the Kickstarter, there was already a bit of buzz and a bit more of the shape of the game.
Yeah, like Kickstarter was 3 years into development.
Right.
It was around a year ago, and we're over 4 years of developing now. So yeah, Kickstarter was just, we stretched it as far as we could with our own funds, and that was about 3 years. And at that point, we had to come up with something, and that's when we decided to go with the Kickstarter. Something we had done before, but the success of this one was amazing.
I was just gonna say that because I was seeing on the Kickstarter that you guys got 65% of your funding goal in the first 24 hours.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I wonder if it's because the game was already, 3 years in by the time you went to Kickstarter. People are seeing a product that they're like, oh, these people are going to finish this product. I'm not just investing in some dude's idea. I'm investing in a game that's well down the path.
Yeah, and a big part of the success is the dev blogs that I've been writing for since the start, since the very beginning. And community has always been like something we wanted to cherish and listen to, and that's also why we did the dev blogs. We wanted to show for the first time what it's like from the beginning. And it's really funny because now when I read the first post, I have written there that this game is going to take between 12 to 24 months, and it's like it's funny to read that because it's going to take like 5 or 6 years,
of course,
or more.
Well,
yeah,
I mean, it's an open world. I mean, it's a sandbox. There's so much that you guys must have to work on to make that actually function.
Yeah, that and all the systems that are working together, because those took practically 3 years to create all the gas systems and all those, and the characters, reacting to the gas system.
Of course. And reacting to each other. A lot of my crew members hate each other for some reason. I think I made too Spartan of a ship. They're like too close together or something.
Yeah, I find it funny when someone poops in their pants. They actually create a radius.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, and it affects the ones. It affects the mood of the others surrounding them. So if someone goes to sleep, and there's others sleeping beside them, and they poop in their pants, it's going to affect.
Axel, I want to keep talking about like the making of the game, but really quickly, I just need to ask you for a game tip then. because on my ship, people tend to crap themselves quite a lot,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering if that means, I've got 3 bathrooms, I think. Do I need just like
Yeah.
7 or 8? Does each person need their own bathroom?
No, but it's they tend to poop only on free time or during
Oh,
sleep.
so I've made my working hours too long.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
bit of that. When they have more free time, they can poop more freely. But at the same time, it creates kind of this boring, like they're on coffee break. So
Yeah, you're just watching all
yeah,
your people pooping after a
yeah,
while.
but
I really
yeah,
love
they
that.
they yeah, that's
I
how it
I want to make
works.
that. I want to make that like a quote or something, maybe on the thumbnail. Just like they tend to poop on their free time.
Yeah,
They're very good workers. They're like, no, it's the middle of my shift. I can't go to the bathroom. I think I'm just gonna have to just poo myself right here.
exactly. Yeah, they listen very carefully to what you tell them.
That's so funny. Well, let's go back. Let's go back to the designing of the game, because you mentioned here, and I'm seeing in the dev blogs as well. Well, a couple things to talk about. But the first one to talk about is the systems, because you've mentioned it now in this interview, but also a couple of times, even on the website, that you guys seem to be very proud of your gas system, which kind of
Yeah,
reminds me of like oxygen not included, right? There's that a
yeah,
little bit of like, oh, I've got to look out for what types of gas I'm making and how much oxygen I'm supplying.
yeah.
So you talk about that. I mean, that was hard to implement. What goes into that? Because I don't really know the first thing about it. I imagine there's like physics, I guess.
Oh yeah. Well, my brother would be way better
Well,
to
that's the next interview
uh,
then.
answer that. Yeah, because he created it and he's like the architect of all of this. So, but it's like it's style based. So
Tile based. Okay.
each style has like values and stores these values for different gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide and hazardous gas, all of
Okay.
these. And then it works with a spread system, so one tile can spread to the others.
Right.
And the others surrounding it like reacts to that, and the values start to spread. And then those values are translated into a graphic kind of overlay.
Right.
So when you look at the view modes, the different colors, those essentially mean different values in the tiles. And each gas can then trigger different conditions in the characters. So these are
Okay.
so my brother has coded these triggers, and we have our own game editor which we use to create these conditions. And this condition system is really important in how we get the effect on the characters.
Oh, well, that's really cool. So, I mean, yeah, you can just from you describing it, you can get a sense like, oh yeah, that is a lot of work to figure out.
Yeah,
Because you can't just have it. Oh yeah, and then the gas spreads out. It has to have like every part of the ship has to react to it, or.
Yeah, and it has to like know where there's a wall, for example,
Oh right, of
blocking
course.
it, and then we also get into like performance based stuff, like you can't just code this, you have to code it in a way where the performance is really good. So
Right. Well, and I
so
imagine there's different ways that they react too, right? Like, does it? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean the CO2 spreads out sort of slowly. Smoke. So my crew are basically the worst people at cooking. They're pretty much 100% of the time causing fires in the kitchen. So when that happens, the smoke spreads very quickly. And then I imagine if I were to blow the airlocks, now you have to code for having the oxygen like rush out of the ship very fast.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know how my brother did it, but it works.
Out of curiosity, and again, I don't know that I would even know what I'm asking, but like, what is he coding in? What's the, or is that like proprietary? Am I not supposed to ask that?
No, that's fine. It's we're actually using a small game engine. It's called libgdx.
Oh, okay.
It's this very small game engine. Well, maybe not very small. I don't know. The creator might not like if I call it very small. But anyways, it's based on Java, and
Wow.
yeah. So it's something we started with 8 years ago, and my brother has then coded all this stuff on top of it. Like we've created our own game editor, which we can use, and and all kinds of libraries.
I suppose that's pretty important to do, so that you can start to design. Like, you have to build the tools first, don't you? And then you can start designing the game on top of that.
Yeah, like a good programmer always thinks about how they can reuse stuff. And
Right.
so when you make many games, you start to realize, oh, I always need this type of stuff. So they just create a module essentially, and you can then use that same module for many games, for all the games that come. And
Right.
yeah.
Is there anything?
The game
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the game editor is actually pretty much custom made.
Wow.
For Space Haven, so yeah, it has all the systems that's relevant to Space Haven.
Is there anything in particular that we might recognize from your previous game that's carried over, either a module?
Oh yeah, sure. Like well, just design-wise, when we started some 6 years ago on our first space game.
Yeah.
Because our two first games were dog characters flying with airplanes shooting at each other.
Yeah.
Those were the first two games, and they flopped big time.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. It was horrible.
Oh no.
it's the classic mistakes pretty much every developer makes when starting creating games. You just come up with some cool idea in your head, and then you don't think about it if that's cool idea is going to sell or not, if anybody wants it or not.
You're just happy to make it.
Yeah, exactly. You're just eager and passionate to make it. Then you spend a year and you put it out, and you make like $1,000, and it's like it's not good.
Well, wait, let's talk about that for a second, because I'm just curious. That's got to be a tough part for any creator in any field, right? Is that initial feedback. And my friend and I, we write a lot of comedy stuff. We write a lot of theater, and our first reviews were okay, but they were enough that we kept going. They were enough that it was like, oh, this is something that we could get good at. So the first game you made, you said it was it the first one you guys made?
Yeah, we made two dog games essentially.
Two dog
in the
games.
Beginning. Yeah.
And then and like you said, I'm not saying they're flops, but you're saying they were flops. But like, what happened after that? How did you find the ability to be like, no, we are gonna make good games. Like, let's get back on the horse.
Yeah, it's well, it was like the first game. It was exciting. It was really exciting to create a game, and like I still remember the first time when we made a build, and I saw it the first time on a phone, the game, and it was like amazing. It was like, hey,
it must feel.
Yeah, we created this. And so like game development is full of these small moments that have a big impact. And yeah, when we put out the first game, and the first day it was on Google Play, and it got like 600 downloads. I mean, that felt like a lot.
Yeah, that
it
is.
was like wow, 600 downloads in a day. That was the first day.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, it's like, this is going great. And then, the days rolled by, and the downloads were good, but the money was essentially zero. And so
really,
so that's when we first started to realize that the downloads, they don't really mean anything. It's just and it was a free to play game, so but it had like in-apps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there were probably many who wrote like, wow, what a crap game. but there's always some players who are like, wow, this is really nice.
Yeah.
This is a great game. This is my favorite game.
So do you think in a way those moments and those few players that are like, oh, this is a great game, that's kind of what you look to for the encouragement to keep going, to be like, okay, let's make another one? Yeah,
and that it, for both of us, when I started with my brother, it just felt exciting, and those, seeing the game come alive and all of that, it was just, of course, really interesting.
And I think once you get hooked, you get hooked. Like, you can't do anything else.
Yeah, exactly. I guess it's just one of those things. You either love it or you just don't really like it at all. I mean,
Yeah, and that makes sense that you are the first type that just loves it, because I think a lot of
yeah,
people would be like, "Oh, well, my game flopped. That means I'm not a game maker. I guess I'll
yeah,
just go
yeah,
be an accountant now."
yes, exactly. And like the Kickstarter was kind of our first success. We did have some success with Harbinger
Yeah.
before that, but
Congratulations,
like,
of course.
yeah, but like there was a good 4 or 5 years which was just like brutal. It was like
Really? And was that
upper.
after Harbinger, the 4 years that was brutal, or do you mean like to develop Harbinger?
Um, the point up to Harbinger, those were the worst years, let's
Oh,
say,
I
because
could only imagine.
yeah, because like we made practically no money
Oh
at
man.
all, and we had worked for 4 years, something like that, and
I don't want to dive too deep in on the bad times, but I'm just curious during that time. I mean, if your company, like you said, if the game made $1,000, so the company is just you and your brother at that time, I assume. Were
yeah,
you guys also working other jobs or something during those bad times? Was it just like working on Battle Void when you could?
we we always worked full time, and up to that 4 years, my brother and I had like tens of thousands in loans, and
Oh,
but we like it was really good time in Finland in the sense that the government was supporting
oh, okay.
game companies, and that's also why we took the loans. It's because we could kind of double the loans in a way and stuff like that.
Oh,
But at the 4 years, all of our money was gone, and we only had loans, and
oof.
we had we had Harbinger, which was half finished, but
Yeah.
we had to release it anyway, and that was a crazy moment because
So
we
wait,
just had.
you had to release it anyway? There was like a deadline,
Yeah,
or you were just out of money, like you had to release something?
yeah, we were out of money. We
Oh
had
man.
we had $1,000 on our bank account
Oh
and
my
no
god.
money. Yeah, so it was just basically okay. We have to release this game as is, and if it fails, then it's over. And
Oh,
yeah,
that is
but
dramatic. That's intense.
yeah, we have these moments.
Yeah.
But Harbinger really, it was weird, but even in the half-finished state, only on mobile, it just, the first time ever, it was a game that started selling in a way that made sense. We could like just scrape by with
Oh,
the,
that's good.
yeah. So it just
So thanks to
allowed
Battle
us to,
Void, you started to kind of build out of the debt hole.
yeah.
Oh,
It
that's
was
amazing.
the first game that was like financially a success.
And then
It wasn't a big success, but it was a success.
a medium success, but that's good though. That's
Yeah,
that hit that's like, okay, we are going in the right direction. Let's keep going.
yeah.
And then so was this the birth of Bug Bite, or Bug Bite was like around, like that was the name of the company from the very beginning, from the dog
It
games?
was the it was the name from the very beginning, and there's a funny story about that too, because at some point we got some new ideas, and
Hmm.
then I got the idea of wanting to change the name,
Oh,
and we thought for a long time about a new name, and then I applied to the government
yeah.
to let us have a new name for the company. And after like checking that there were no other companies with that new name, when I had just applied, I realized that, oh damn, there is another company. I had like made a mistake there.
Oh no.
Like I don't know how it happened, but I made a mistake, and thanks to that we couldn't change the name, and then like now afterwards I'm so happy we didn't change the name, because the new name was like really bad, and this I really like Bug Bite now. It's like,
It grew on you.
yeah, for sure. I mean, the new name was not as good as Bug Bite, because Bug Bite just it rolls on your tongue, and
It does.
it's funny.
Man, that's tough, because it's like obviously this company exists then, the other name, but I'm so curious as to what the other name was going to be.
It was Divida.
It was what, sorry? Say it again.
Divida.
Divida.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. I mean,
Yeah, but
I think I will say I do like Bug Bite. I maybe right now in this moment I think I prefer Bug Bite as well.
yeah,
Uh,
I like Bug Bite.
Bug Bite seems more accessible to me and more like
Yeah.
like an exploring. Like, oh, Bug Bite. It's kind. I don't know why I'm trying to think of other. Who are the guys that make Stronghold? Firefly, I think. Oh, that's another bug. There you go. That's why I was thinking about it.
Yeah. There are a lot of bugs.
Yeah, lots of bug
out there.
names. But that's good. Those are the games where you're like, yeah, this sounds like a fun company, and they probably make fun games.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. So getting back to the Kickstarter, you were fully funded within 48 hours, was it?
Yeah,
And then you started
48 hours.
busting into the goals afterwards.
Yeah.
Something that I always wonder with Kickstarter stretch goals that companies have, like, if we get this much money, then we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Are some of them just made up off the top of your heads when you guys are trying to get the Kickstarter put together? Or are some of
For
them
sure.
are some of them like, oh, we really do want to add this feature?
Yeah, like they're made up. Like
Yeah.
maybe some like plan them, but for us
Yeah.
it's like when we plan something, we have to discuss it,
Of course.
and those discussions could take an hour or many hours. So like when you start to discuss bigger features, you really have to take everyone to be a part of it. And
Right, of course.
because these stretch goals, they're like promises.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so you have to really think carefully about them because otherwise you're breaking a promise. And so, well, the programmer especially has to like tell us, like, is this possible and how much time will it take and all of that. So we have to think carefully. But for us, it wasn't something we wanted to do beforehand.
Yeah.
We just wanted to see how the Kickstarter goes and then spend that time in a day on what the next stretch goal is going to be and
Right.
how much it's going to be.
So
But,
so
like,
some of these stretch goals, they weren't just like, because I guess the problem would be if you were like, and then we'll add space stations.
yeah,
You
but
can't just say that because now you have to implement it.
exactly. And I think the good thing is, like, when you don't do them beforehand, you can actually look at the comments, what players want, and you can bring that in also. And you're like, oh, everybody's shouting for space stations, and so then we can discuss, is this possible? Is this a
Right.
stretch goal we can make? And then, okay, it is, so let's do it because they want it, so let's just go with that. And then we announce that stretch goals, and they're like, yeah, this is great.
This is the thing we
awesome.
were
So-
talking about, right? That's clever.
Yeah.
That's clever.
Yeah.
And that also
So-
helps that you were doing a Kickstarter with a game that was already 3 years down the road. So you have something built.
Yeah.
You have a community already.
Yeah.
So when you go to the Kickstarter, it's like, okay, well, we already kind of know what they're going to want to see.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Sure. Yeah, like we really do take like the community as a part of development, because in the end we're making the game for players and not for ourselves.
Yeah.
But for the players that play it, and it's like if we can find the ideas that are most wanted and we can develop those, then it just means that the game will become better.
Of course, and more about what they want to play.
Yeah. But of course, at the same time, we have to be gatekeepers because, we know what it takes to
Of course.
develop certain features and if it fits with everything else. So we have to look at that too. But
That's a
yeah,
good.
we really
sorry.
take the community into consideration.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good segue into talking about refining and creating systems and things like that. I had two questions here, just about like kind of the early development of the game, to kind of wrap up our talk about the early stages. I've seen in a lot of the dev blogs that you've posted, you're talking about designing and refining the menu system, the user interface. And I started to think, like, again, I'm not an expert in game design. I don't know the first thing. Maybe I know the first thing. But it feels like, how the player interacts with the game, like build a wall or place a tool, is probably half, if not more than half, the battle in terms of somebody enjoying themselves in the game. So how much work was like, what's that process like when you're like, okay, well, let's have a build menu. Okay, where do we put it? Okay, the bottom right, near the gas system, I guess. Like, it's gone through a couple iterations. I like the newest update. I'm sure you guys will keep refining it, of course. But like, what is that process like?
It's constant, and
Must be.
it's probably gone through like 10 iterations throughout the lifespan, and it's like there's so many things to take into consideration. First off, you have to like look at the smallest resolution you wanna support.
Oh, right.
So that's a really big thing. Okay, there's people who have like 4K monitors and they have like lots of space. But then there's like people playing on their laptop and have a really small resolution. So yeah, it has to work on that too. So that's one big part of it. And then it's just, how do you get the player to find stuff, for example?
Right.
And the view modes were like, in the beginning, they were like invisible. Like, if you don't find that menu, then you don't know it exists. Like, you don't even know there's a gas system in this game.
Oh, right.
So,
This was just like a secret you would stumble on.
Yeah, but that's one of the reasons. I don't know if you have noticed, but if you choose oxygen generator,
Yeah.
it automatically opens the oxygen view mode.
Right. I think I noticed
Yeah.
that, yeah. That's very,
So-
it's convenient.
Yes, but it's something that, we didn't have in the beginning, and we had to like
Right.
think about stuff. We had to look at other games, and then it was like our graphic artists were like, hey, what if we just make it open like automatically when you choose a certain facility? And that's like, at the same time, it gives the player the tip that, hey, what is this? What is this overlay? And so
Right.
they kind of realize that, oh, I can see how much oxygen there is on this ship.
Yeah, and where
and
your
stuff
weak
like
points
that.
are.
Yeah, so there's like a ton of those small details in the game which makes playing more fun, and well, that you understand the game at all.
Well, and I love that you mentioned the ton of the details, because I think that's apparent. And I think that's what makes a good game, is that you can tell the developers, you can tell the designers really care about fully making it properly, not just implementing a system and then moving on. And if I can say that about Space Haven, I would love to, because even just something like a small example is recently you updated and you added the fog of war to the map. So it's like, oh, I can't see a few planets away from myself. I just have to kind of guess at where I want to head. And that makes sense, right? That's very realistic. And what I noticed, though, is when I'm looking on the map, the fog of war isn't just a little smudge or like a little, a grid or something where I can't see past that. There's actually a little animation to it. There's a little bit of flow, and it gives it a bit of life. And that is a detail that you didn't need to do, but you guys did it. And you can tell that it's because you guys love what you're making so much, and that really shows.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, it's fun to do those things. It's like, it probably was, for a programmer, for my brother, it was like something he just thought of, like, how can I make this more lively? And it's done in code. It's done with code, so...
Oh, even that little animation and everything?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess, yeah. Oh, cool. So it's procedural or whatever you would call that.
Yeah, he can like draw lines and stuff with OpenGL and make those in code. And then, when you create the game, you can start to have like a cooperation between the graphic artist and the programmer, where they're
wild.
Like, some of the graphic is done by the programmer, and the other graphic is done by the graphic artist. And
of course. Oh man, that's cool. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, for example, the outlines on the characters when you select them.
Yeah.
Another small detail which is really important, which you don't really think about when you play, but when you have a character selected, there needs to be something to show that he is selected.
Yeah.
Among all the other characters, so that's done with code as well.
That's cool. And so that works in concert with the graphic designers.
Yeah, like my brother and our graphic artist Matti, they've been like, let's say, constructing this game. I've been part of the design, but it's like they're two really talented guys, because what you see is like what they have created amongst them. Like, it's amazing to just look at them go at it, and like
and it must be like they speak a different language now. Do you know what I mean? Like, even just being able to code is another language. That's like, I just will never understand it.
Yeah, and my brother is on like, I have coded one of our games, but there's levels to it, and
right,
it's like,
of course.
when I look at my brother's code, I'm like, what is this? It's like I don't understand it. So, and you have to be a special kind of coder to create a game like this because the systems, there's so many of them.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
like
it's
for
it's one thing
example,
to create levels. Oh, sorry. What was the example?
like the AI. I mean, it's insane how complicated that can get. And it's you have to remember this game is not on a planet. It's in space where like if the character walks out the airlock and makes a mistake, they die.
Yeah, that's it.
And the player will hate that. They will like
Oh, right.
brutally hate that.
Yeah.
So you have to have a great AI which, is capable enough to take care of themselves. Like if you leave them on a derelict ship to salvage stuff, they have to know, okay, my oxygen is running out. I have to go and run for more.
Right.
I have to call for the shuttle now to go back. And so if there would be big mistakes there, your characters would just die. And you wouldn't probably like it. So yeah, there's a lot of work there, and that's why it's taken so long.
Oh, and that makes sense. But that attention to detail is really paying off. Like, I think that's probably why not only have you grown that community, but you've also kept them and added me to it as well. So that's fun. This is my last question about the design. Is in the first dev blog, I think you also mentioned that it was that the game was going to start with one character, and that they were going to clone themselves to create the crew. And then I think that changed pretty quickly to just about a family or a group of people escaping Earth. Can you tell me, is there anything off the top of your head where you were like, oh man, we were going to do this before and that would have been a terrible idea? Or did the community ever pitch any ideas where you're like, no, we're not going to do that?
When we started first on the idea, we did a thing where we made like 2 pictures and we showed them to our community and asked for their opinion. We made the pictures and some flavor text to convey the idea we had, and that was like the first step because during the first 4 years, we realized when you embark on creating a game, you're making a huge investment, and that's shown to be true now because we worked 3 years on this game before even knowing if anyone will care, really.
Right.
3 years is a lot. Like financially, it's hundreds of thousands. Like even if you're just 3 people in Finland, that's hundreds of thousands in salary that you have to think about. Of course. So whatever we could come up with, we tried to like ask the community to get like a hint that could this be something that is wanted, and that was the first step. And then our original idea was like, let's have a space station, and the first name was like replica base, where you would have this one guy and he would replicate himself, and you could make like more crew members that way. And I remember my brother had this idea that the space station could be next to a planet, and then you could ship resources up and down that planet.
Oh, okay.
But I don't exactly remember, but I think our thought pattern was like, there's so many space station games, so how is this going to differ from
course.
Those? Yeah, and that's when we started to lean more towards spaceships. And it's something like, it's more unique because you build a base essentially, but then you can like pick it up and fly away with it and go explore stuff.
And take that base to new places,
Yeah, so that was like intriguing and interesting, and it wasn't something that was made as much as space stations.
No, of course not.
Yeah, so we wanted something more unique, and that's why we started to lean towards spaceships.
That's awesome, and I think that's going to pay off for you, as you can tell, because like you said, not too many people have made this kind of game, and it really tickles that itch of the rim world in space.
Yeah, and from Battlestar Galactica, my brother always had this idea that you could create roles for ships. Like one ship could be like a farming ship, and another ship could be like a leisure time ship where they go and just spend like free time, and then one ship could be a battleship, so on, and that's what we wanted to create, and that's, you know, it's panned out. You're able to do that now in the game.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool.
Well, that's awesome that you mentioned that, because that is kind of that the pleasure. I was like already starting to get ideas, and I think that's what I love about the open world games is that it's up to you, the player. And so already, as soon as you said the pleasure ship, I was like, oh, that was my idea. And I was like, oh no, wait, that's everybody's idea. We're all playing the game together.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, my next ship, I want it to be a really slick, like the inside of an Apple store. I want it to be a real luxurious cruise ship kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, well, Axel, when we come back, I would love to talk about what's next for the game, because you're just about to head to early access, and I think that's going to be a really big time for the game, I hope. And I'd love to see and talk about, like, what are the plans for the future, both of this game and of Bug Bite.
Awesome. Yeah. Let's do that.
When we come back.